one Financial Advisory Committee meeting. Do we have any, oops, getting live streamed, okay. Any comments or questions?
I have a question.
Joyce?
In the minutes, it says that we discussed the May 6th minutes and that there was an action item where we obtained confirmation from the province regarding whether retroactive use of funds is permitted regarding DCCs. I'm not aware that we have yet had that, and therefore I would ask that this item be brought forward on each and every agenda until we get confirmation of same, please. It's been a hot topic. I think we need to address it.
Okay, and just to, Joyce, just so I get absolute clarity on the.
Hang on. Are we talking about adopting the minutes, talking about process, John, for Fred? Are we talking about amending the minutes? What we're doing right now is moving to adopt the minutes.
I am making a motion to amend the minutes.
Okay. I don't have them in front of me because I've only got the one machine here.
And if it's not an appropriate place to have this comment, it is referenced that we would get the information about this. And
so the minutes are correct.
The minutes are correct.
It would be an action item attached to
Yeah,
this.
it'll be an action item.
It's a follow-up for business arising from the minutes. It's a follow-up.
I can just, you guys can adopt the minutes and I will just add this action item under that section.
Okay, Joyce?
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Thank you. So if I could have a mover. for
Move
those
adoption.
minutes. Allison, seconder?
John would second.
John, thank you. All in favor?
All right.
Thank you. Okay.
We usually have a follow-up action list. I guess we don't have one this time, do we?
There was only the one. And,
Okay.
And it was a very sparse agenda, so I just didn't make a big document out of that. And thank you for catching it, Joyce.
Okay, thank you. So we'll now move on to point 3, which any public comments? Not aware of any, so
No public. No public.
so we'll move on to point 4, business arising from the minutes. The point 4.1 is to rescind the recommendation regarding the auditor RFP, which we had previously talked about deferring, but the recommendation is that we completely rescind it. And it's noted that the council be recommendation provided to council that they execute a contract with BDO to perform the audit services, which should say 2021. Although I understand council actually did the approval last night.
That
Well,
correction was,
Yeah, and 2021 was in the council agenda
yeah, I
wording.
made the
So
correction in the email, but not on this.
So we're kind of making a recommendation after they've already agreed to do it.
but I think we did an email poll and agreed that it should be done.
This is just housekeeping.
This is
Okay,
ratifying.
so that's housekeeping, that's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, I won't read out the recommendation, but it seems
I'll move
kind
the
of straightforward.
recommendation.
Thank you.
Just
Comments, Liam?
a point of clarification. I think the recommendation needs to be amended because it finishes off.
Oh, I'll move it with the amendment to say 2021 audit services for
I'll read that.
2021.
I've made that correction.
Okay,
I'll second it.
Joyce?
Yeah.
Oh, second, okay. Any other comments or questions? And we'll take it as amended. All in favor? Thank you. We'll now move on to point 5, which is updates, and 5.1, which is ongoing financial work. A verbal report, Liam, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair and committee members. And as John said, Happy New Year. It's good to see you all. Hopefully we'll actually do this in person one day. And I just wanted to provide you with a brief update of where we're at, especially given that we don't have a CFO at this time. And so I wanted to make sure that keeping you aware of the happenings. So we did engage the services of Deloitte, who have been helping us with our 2021 financial statement development. And so we're moving that along quite well. It's been an interesting work to for them to dig in, and the fellow that we did hire actually assisted the municipality in the past too, so that's been really beneficial. So he's already aware of some of our processes and the likes. And so that team is, and our accountant Quinn and myself are working to develop clear financial statement for 2021, which can be used for the purposes of the audit itself. And then also will make up the bulk of our legislative financial submission requirements to the province that are due both in May and June. And so that work is going well, and we'll be able to provide a more detailed update.
I don't know where the background noise is coming from.
Yeah, I don't know myself either.
It's the mic,
Will be-
it feels like.
We'll be able to provide a more detailed update, hopefully later this spring, but well before we're into the audit process. And so what I'm hopeful for is that when we have a new CFO on board, that we can schedule we will schedule another Finance Advisory Committee meeting for introductions, but also at that time we'll be able to provide a more fulsome update in terms of where we're at with that process. And we are continuing to engage with BDO for the audit. I did have a meeting with the auditor, and we did discuss a tentative schedule for what that might look like, and I want to also run that past the committee too. So it's tentative, and so once I have that firmed up from the auditor, I will also circulate that to this group, perhaps by email. But tentatively, what we're aiming for is still to have the audit fully approved and submitted to the province by May 15th, which is the deadline. I did also engage with the province about the flexibility of that deadline, given our situation with the lack of a CFO. And there is flexibility in that if we did need some extra time beyond that, there is the ability to submit late. We wouldn't want to go very late, but another couple of weeks or month wouldn't be unheard of. And so right now, tentatively, if we're trying to get everything approved by May 15th, we would be initiating the audit April 4th. And so that would mean we would be looking to have a Finance Advisory Committee about 1 month from that time. So we'd be targeting around May 5th to have a Finance Advisory Committee meeting to be reviewing the audit. And,
Liam,
yeah.
We usually have a pre-audit meeting with the auditors.
Yes, there's a whole bunch of steps in between that and this that I'm not going into those details.
No,
now.
but the Finance Committee usually has a pre-audit meeting with the auditors
Right.
before they start the audit.
Right. That would be before April, before they even start.
Yeah, so sometime in the next month.
Yeah. And I would think though we would wait to do that when we have the new CFO on board.
Okay.
But I'm happy to try to schedule that in advance if people would prefer to do that and not wait. I would.
We can talk about that in the closed, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So suffice to say, though, I'm happy that with the work that's being conducted to date on our financials, and that we've got a schedule, even though it's tentative, a schedule in place for getting the audit completed on time. And once that is firmed up, we'll make sure we get it into everybody's calendars so that we get everybody available.
Thank you. Yeah, my travel schedule has been curtailed anyway. So it's likely I would either be here or down in the village.
Right? We'll all meet at the Snug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that was it for my
Thank you.
there. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to now move on to point 6 and 6.1 other business, which is the point that I'd raised as a late addition to the agenda. And I do have some comments to make. And I would like to generate hopefully some discussion as well and some expected actions. My comments relate to the Bowen Island Municipality Community Center Construction Contract Award for the Community Center and the increased total budget. And again, I'm not debating decisions. I'm looking at process and the participation of the Finance Advisory Committee in those processes. And I'm just reading from notes basically that I prepared, and be clear that the FAC was not requested to provide any input or recommendation relative to the increased total community center contract project cost of 18.7 million or the contract tender award for 14.4 million to Golden Globe that were approved by the council and announced on December the 2nd, which was in fact the first time that non-elected members of the committee only became aware of the award and the revised contract totals. And it came up, I heard about it through the undercurrent or by reading the undercurrent, and that was the first time. And also, again, non-elected members have not had or received any information relative to the specific detailed reporting and recommendations that led to those awards or the increase in the budget, which represents an increase of 29% since the September 2020 referendum that was passed at that time. I just want to comment. The FAC was constituted by the municipal council, who did not refer this matter to the committee. The committee's terms of reference identify its purpose and role as a source of support and advice for council and the CEO with respect to financial matters. We also provide oversight with regards to the 5-year financial plan and development of a long-term capital plan, and also provide advice regarding risk management. The project has a number of implications, certainly one of the largest in history for the municipality. Potential for construction risk and cost overruns on everything from furniture and fixture to other areas, knowing that this is the initial stage that we're currently in with construction not yet commenced. Confirmed funding sources as identified in the information are around 14.4 million, with a shortfall totaling around 4.26 million prior to commencement of construction. I understand that Liam is intending to pursue an increased Canada infrastructure grant, and there's also an additional fundraising campaign underway. But we're certainly in a $4.3 million shortfall position prior to commencement of construction. Also recognizing something I just became aware of, something to consider, as I think it was also expanded in size, is that the increased costs have future operating and capital budget impact implications. The final point is really 1.2 million taken from COVID Safe Restart Fund available to the municipality. The committee had previously recommended its involvement in the process to utilize these funds to provide its objective perspective, recognizing political influences that exist. The 2020 referendum information identified 1.2 million funding generally from municipal reserves without, I don't believe, identifying this source of funds. And I think while the elected council members' positions on the contract award and increased total budget costs are on record with their votes. Non-elected members of the FAC are also cognizant of our reputations in the community. And I think what's relevant there is an assumption that the FAC would have been involved in this process, recognizing the magnitude and the risks associated with this project. And I think it should be, my comment is basically that the open minutes for this meeting should clearly state that the Finance Advisory Committee did not participate in this process or provide its recommendations relative to the Golden Globe construction contract award for $14.4 million or increased total budget for the contract or for the project of $18.7 million. I think that in future that we would want to have some understanding that this not reoccur. Otherwise, I have to raise issues about the relevancy of this committee generally, which is sometimes included and sometimes not included. I mean, this is really a substantial undertaking by the municipality with inherent risk, and it's normal risk and generally associated with these types of projects. So I guess those are, my comments. So I'd be pleased to hear any other input or thoughts. Liam? Then Joyce, did you want to afterwards?
There. I just totally support this item and how it's been presented. We've been talking about terms of reference for this committee, and quite frankly, on one of the most important projects that's come forward, our terms of reference were not followed. So the question is, are the terms of reference appropriate, and do they need to be reworked? Because quite frankly, as a member of this committee, I'm not prepared to do the work that I've done over the years, had the discussions that we've had, mainly in closed sessions around capital projects, the risks, the impact on the community, and then have this happen. So something needs to happen. And I hold the council members who are part of this finance committee as accountable as the CAO. The fact that we were forgotten about is not acceptable.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Liam? And then John. Liam first.
Okay, thank you, Chair. And I first want to apologize, and I do take responsibility for this, and I believe that it was a tremendous oversight on my part, and that there's no real excuse other than in the process to secure the contract in a tight time frame. You know, I found myself and the team working hard to move as expeditiously as possible with going through the select steering committee for its review and recommendations to council, and then to council, and then back to the negotiating table to secure the contract. And I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just trying to shed light on the process that occurred. And in amongst that, there was the need to build confidence and understand the capacity to fill the funding gap that you've identified, Fred, because it is no small gap whatsoever. And it's a risk that really needed to have a lot of focus and attention placed upon it to ensure that we could have the confidence to advance the project. And bringing that to this committee would have been a wise step to gain the insight and the expertise of this committee. I think that should have been done and would have benefited the decision-making process. And so I apologize for missing that step. And there's not much more to it than that. It wasn't intentional. And I appreciate you bringing it forward, because it is a very valid point, and something that we have to, stay focused on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. John, you're on mute.
I guess I'm wrestling a bit with it because in a sense, I feel as a committee, we're to give guidance on an annual cycle basis on a general policy setting. But then when it comes to day-to-day decisions, you know, when they're hiring a CFO, we're certainly not party to the salary negotiations and things like that. We may be consulted to just say, here's, we've shortlisted, you know, what's your thoughts? But I guess, you know, I wrestle with it a bit. I mean, you know, in the one sense, sure, I'd love to be involved in more of these decisions, especially when it comes to setting various line items on the annual budget. But I think, you know, obviously staff and council have got you know, a large role to play. And I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I sort of view us as a backstop on sort of overall policy direction and giving a bit of community input on that side. Whereas, yeah, in the case of this, you know, tender came in, there's incredible inflation right now, a lot of things happening, all sorts of balls in the air. And I guess, yes, of course, we could have been consulted, but I'm not sure we would be in any way saying yay or nay to going forward in a particular direction. It's, you know, it's really elected members of council are being asked to make very brave decisions and, you know, approve a recommendation of staff. But that said, you know, Liam has said next time we would be consulted. But I guess I'd like to see our terms of reference maybe set out a little more, because this whole notion of consultation sort of implies if we don't agree, then it won't go forward, where of course, in this case, it wouldn't be so. It's council that has the final decision. And we're, you know, we are certainly helping council and make decisions by providing community input. But we're not, anyway, I think I've made my point in terms of it.
Okay, I think just in one point to respond to what you said, I don't expect the council necessarily to agree or disagree with us on a particular instance, but we have a responsibility from looking at from an objective financial level and a risk level to determine whether we consider it to be appropriate or not. And again, I'm not responding to whether I think this is a good decision or a bad decision. That's not the point here. The point here is that we were not given an opportunity to provide our input. The council has a right, obviously, to make its own decisions. I mean, that's what they're elected there to do. But we also have a responsibility to provide our best perspective and an objective view of whether we are supportive or not supportive, or if we identify risks or otherwise on matters that are significant financial impact to the community and to the residents of Bowen Island. So I'm not suggesting that they have to do what we say or would have to do it if it had come through the committee, but we have a right to participate and have our say in that process. That's my understanding of the intent of the committee, certainly as it relates to this, as it relates to the types of things that I identified as to matters that have long-term implications for the community. That's it, John. So I'm not saying it's not, you know, we rule the roost, because that's not the case whatsoever. We just need to provide our input, and they can make, and the council will make its own decision. So that's my only comment on that. Is there any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. And again, my comment is that, and this isn't a resolution or anything, I just want it noted in the minutes, specific to this discussion, that the committee did not participate in the process that we've identified or provide its recommendation. And I think I've already commented on what I've said there. Steph, I don't know if Steph has that information. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. And I think I'm also interested in protecting our, I mean, for the non-elected members, we do have our reputations as well. But the elected officials are able to go on record publicly. And I don't want people assuming that we did or did not support this. We just were not part of the process. That's really the point.
So Fred, for the minutes, can it say that the committee, finance committee, was not consulted or asked to provide comments or advice with respect to the community center project finalization.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying.
Okay, thanks.
That's all. And I just hope that we have an understanding in future that we're not gonna, this is not a situation that will recur. That's my only, that's my interest in this. And because as volunteers, we put a lot into this.
Yeah.
Liam,
I'm
I
here.
saw your hand go up.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I do value the input of the committee. I think this committee is high functioning committee and does add a lot of value. And I would like to ensure that we're getting, the best use of everybody's time. And in that thought too, recognizing the capital campaign that the municipality is currently in, I want to think about process to ensure the most efficient and streamlined process can happen, because as I mentioned earlier, often when it is such a difficult environment to move quickly enough to secure bids in timely fashions. And so, and depending on how many committees we might have to engage with, that can really slow things down. Just today, talking with the auditor about the audit, the process to get to the final audit for submission, you start backing it up from when you need the approval to when you actually have to have the work done.
Mhm.
And you need a whole month of just going through the committees and the council approval. And in the tender world of construction, that's difficult. And so I'm not saying that we shouldn't be doing it. I'm just wanting to flag that it's something that I'll have to turn my mind to, as to how can we streamline things, because we don't have that kind of time in the construction market to delay too long, and the public sector approval process is long. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Joyce?
I think this also gets to the point that we've talked about a number of times of taking on so many capital projects all at once, and the staffing that's required to manage it. There's only so many that can be done, and I need to put that on the table yet again. It's a concern, and I do have to say, not to second guess what the discussion might have been had it come, but we might have asked a very tough question of, are we sure that this is the project that the community needs right now? I mean, I know that the issue was around awarding a contract. I hope council had that discussion. I have no idea whether they did or not. As a finance committee member, having looked at risks and the capital projects that we're undertaking, I know I would have tabled that question. And so it's just a comment.
Thank you, Joyce. Any other comments? Okay, I think we can move on now. Thank you. Okay, point 6.2, move to a closed meeting. There's included, obviously, in the agenda, the wording for a recommendation to move to a closed meeting rather than reading it out. I don't know if we have to do that. Not my thing personally, but if I could have a mover, please.
Maybe we could just say what section of the community charter we're moving in under, just for the public.
Section 91.
90.1.
Subsection
Yeah.
A.
Section A, employment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, mover, please. I think Joyce came up first. John?